Hi, I'm Jonathan Goldman. I would like to welcome you to this, the 13th Annual Global Oneness Summit. First and foremost, I want to thank Humanity's team, Steve Farrell, and everyone involved in helping co-create this presentation because it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful learning experience for everyone. The theme for this year is Birthing a New World, and we are our wonderful panel of which we have assembled people from throughout the world. Lama Tashi from India, Chloe Godchild from England, and my beloved wife Andi and I from Boulder, Colorado. We are basically going to be talking about using sound to create compassion, which from our perspective is truly, if you like, the monumental feature of creating oneness within ourselves and within other people. I could talk for a long time about the idea of the importance of compassion as an ingredient in creating a new world, birthing a new world. But instead, we've got so many wondrous people with us that instead I'll first introduce them or begin by introducing them, and then we'll begin talking. And, if you like, sharing with you ideas on how to use compassion to be at one with ourselves. And to begin with the lovely being to my right, my partner, wife, and just extraordinary, not only co-panelist, but co-facilitator is my wife, Andi Goldman. Now, Andi Goldman is a licensed psychotherapist specializing in holistic counseling and sound therapy. She's the director of Healing Sound Seminars and co-director of the Sound Healers Association. A musician, teacher, author, and sound healer, Andi co-authored with me, Jonathan Goldman, the award-winning books Chakra Frequencies and our best-selling The Humming Effect. So, hi, Andi, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I am so delighted to be here. And now what I'd like to do is introduce our next panelist, who is Chloe Godchild from England. Chloe creates communities of sound online and in person called Singing Fields for the practice of authentic communication, spoken and sung, leading to caring and compassionate relationships. A Grammy-nominated vocalist, Chloe has numerous albums, including Surah and Fierce. Chloe is the creator of the Naked Voice workshops, CDs, and DVDs, and she is the author of The Naked Voice. And it is such a joy and such a pleasure and honor to have you with us today. Chloe, welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Andi and Jonathan. Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
And now I'm going to present our other illustrious guest all the way from India, Geshe Nawang Tashi Bapu, better known as Lama Tashi, has been the principal chant master of the Dalai Lama's Drepung Losing Monastery and served as director of the Central Institute of Himalayan Cultural Studies in India. Lama Tashi's Tibetan deep voice is world-renowned. He was the first Tibetan Buddhist monk to be nominated for a Grammy with his recording of Tibetan master chants. He is a renowned scholar and speaker on subjects regarding compassion, wisdom, and other intricate areas of Tibetan Buddhist teachings, and he has just completed an online course, Tibetan Secrets of Happiness. Welcome, Lama Tashi.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you all. Thank you.
Great.
And Jonathan, I think we've introduced all of our panelists except for you. So it is my great joy to introduce you to Jonathan Goldman. He is an international founding pioneer in the field of sound healing. He is a renowned writer, musician, and teacher. Jonathan is the author of numerous award-winning books, including healing sounds and the 7 secrets of sound healing. He is a Grammy nominee. His award-winning recordings include Chakra Chants, Ultimate Om, The Divine Name. He is the founder and the director of the Sound Healers Association and the CEO of Spirit Music. And he is my partner in life and my husband. Jonathan, welcome to this beautiful panel where we will be talking about compassion and birthing a new world.
And how extraordinary. I can't wait. And, I really have a number of questions that I'm going to ask to everybody. And who shall we begin with, Andi?
You decide, Jonathan.
Lama Tashi. Whoa. Hey, what does compassion mean to you?
In Mahayana tradition, that is the main foundation of all the practice, compassion. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama always says that if you want happiness for other, practice happiness. If you want happiness for yourself, practice compassion. So like compassion is source of all the happiness for other and happiness for oneself. Now the point in one hand is, when we talk about compassion, we wish that all beings to be happy. Actually, there are compassion that is limited only for oneself and some of our friends, but if we want to extend it to the entire being, that means whoever needs it, that means it goes beyond the limit. Everyone, every sentient being needs the compassion. So if you practice compassion towards all being, that means a kind of bringing all together as a family member. So this is source of all the goodness. That's why, as I said earlier, Mahayana Buddhism actually stands on the compassion. It's like a main foundation of the Mahayana Buddhism. So with that, then you generate bodhicitta, and then enlightenment or Buddhahood is possible only from the compassion. That's why Acharya Chandrakirti, who wrote commentary on the Madhyamika, the root text of Acharya Nagarjuna, he praised compassion by giving 3 examples. It says like, at the beginning it's like a seed, and then later on it's like a fertilizer. If you have seed, if you do not have seed, you cannot grow any crops. So for the crops, first you have to have a seed, and then after you have the seeds, now you pour water and put like fertilizer, so it grows, through a stem or whatever crop, right? And then later on, you need water to ripe, water and sunshine and all those things. So it's like compassion at the beginning and at the middle and at the end. It's needed everywhere. Now, what is the it refers here is like, if you have a compassion, now you can generate altruistic intention for others. And then, of course, because of that altruistic intention, now you become a bodhisattva and you will continue your good work, noble work. If you do not, even if you have that one, if you lost it later on, you cannot continue. So the first, you become nice person and a great being because of compassion. Once you become a great being, you continue because of your compassion. That's how the bodhisattva continues their great work. And then it says when you achieve when you reach to the final destination, Buddhahood, enlightened, fully enlightened being, If you do not have compassion, you won't teach, you won't guide. So Buddha guides us, Buddha helps us, continuously helping us, even though he is free from all the problem and he had fulfilled all his achievements, what he has goals. But still he continued his works or her works. All the Buddhas, they continue their good work because of the compassion. So compassion is, good at the beginning and it's still good at the middle point, and then even after you reach at the final stage, still the compassion is the one that good for every being. So in one hand, as I said, foundation of Mahayana, and then in other hand, like good beings at the initial stage, and then bodhisattvas later on, great bodhisattvas, and then enlightened being, they all do their good works because of compassion. They have compassion in their heart. So compassion is like the one that really, it's almost like make us survive.
Beautiful, Lama Tashi. I love that metaphor that of the seed going into the fertilizer, going and creating the flower and the blossom. So thank you for that. Well, next I'm going to go to our illustrious UK compatriot, Chloe Godchild. Hi, Chloe. What is compassion to you?
Thank you, Jonathan. My goodness me, compassion. For me, it's my experience of it so far is that it is one of three essential pillars for our existence. One is to learn how to contemplate. That's the first pillar for me, and that comes from the root of the body and learning how to be very still within oneself and learning how to actually remember that I am just made of oneness. There's nothing else going on. And so my connection with the root chakra, for example, connects me with that really deep connection with earth, stillness, oneness. And then if I actually just remember that from the root chakra, there is also the belly arising from there. There are two other chakras that connect me with my capacity to access contemplation, to discover my body as a temple of deep, deep, non-judgmental listening from the source of stillness itself. So contemplation, which has been a very central in the earlier part of my life. I was brought up in a Christian environment. My dad was a priest, and so I just became increasingly fascinated by the role of the monastic life, if you like, and what it was about monks, what it was that attracted them to their monasteries. And so I started to discover later in my life that the monastic life really, it opened up an understanding of contemplation, of the body being a temple for deep, deep listening, for which sound was a very important component. The second one really the second pillar connecting me with the center of the chest, which is my heart center, which is the most profound energetic realm of the body, if you like. And the heart center connects me with my creative, imaginal, empathic nature. And so for me, that has become an incredible domain of sound, of learning about the nature of empathy itself and how empathy assists me to feel the suffering of others and to go out and explore how I might use empathy or the devotional heart itself to assist others to listen to themselves in a whole new way, which doesn't involve reactive listening anymore. It involves more of an empathic listening. And once I've learnt to do that, then I can start to connect my root and the heart center with the entire vertical axis, ascending and descending of my body. And that brings me up into the pineal gland, into the third eye. And that third pillar, which for me is really, and obviously all the great teachings, primarily Buddhism, of course, but all the wisdom teachings, the great perennial wisdom traditions, teach us about how the third eye and the witnessing consciousness, the self-observing mind, assists us to, if you like, to evolve our empathic nature into one of witnessing as an experience of service, an experience of really opening the field of one's consciousness beyond one's own personal or karmic field, where empathy is plays a very important part, but takes my awareness out beyond the social compound of my own karmic life or personal life, and takes me out to become aware of the suffering that exists beyond in the world, and to explore how my own witnessing mind can give birth to my own compassionate nature, my capacity to engage with suffering, to assist others to understand the gift, if you like, sounds strange, but the gift of suffering, to transform conflict into deeper and deeper states of loving connection with oneself and with everything. And so for me, compassion really derives from this witnessing mind. And I am profoundly grateful to all the great mystical traditions for bringing this understanding into my life. And of course, compassion right now, I would say, is the most important element, just as Lama Tashi was saying, that is perhaps a missing ingredient for many people in the world as we are being shown it, if you like, through the media. So compassion is an essential ingredient and practice for our time.
Beautiful, Chloe. I love your, if you like, metaphor for the chakras, indeed, and the parts of the body being manifestations, the different pillars that ultimately co-create compassion. So thank you for that. And now, Andi, what does compassion mean to you?
Oh my goodness gracious. After hearing Lama Tashi and Chloe, and I'll just ride on their beautiful meanings of compassion. And, as we're talking about this Global Oneness Summit, and we are birthing a new world. And for me, the foundation of this new world must be the foundation of compassion. And the Dalai Lama says that compassion and kindness and love are necessities. And without them, we as humans cannot continue. So compassion is a necessity. And compassion is that passion that arises for the wish that all beings be free from suffering. And so when I think of compassion, there are so many different layers of compassion, because how do we get to compassion? Well, we must understand each other. We want to understand each person and, of course, ourselves. We have to understand and have that compassion for ourselves. And I don't mean this in a narcissistic way or an egotistical way, but if we can have that within ourselves first, then we are able to send that out to everyone on our planet. And so compassion is just such an essential ingredient in being human, and having that loving kindness in our hearts and opening our hearts to allowing in that love and that understanding. I know one of Jonathan and one of our favorite sort of catchphrases during these last few years has been, let us have compassionate understanding. And I think if we can have that compassionate understanding, first for ourselves, and forgive ourselves for anything that we may be harboring, that we need to say, hey, I'm just human. We forgive ourselves, we forgive the people that are around us, and we open our heart, and that compassion just flows right out. So I would love to just have compassion keep flowing in our birthing of this new world that is happening.
Beautiful, Andi. Thank you so much. And I'm going to, if you like, if this were a ball team or something like that, I think I'd be batting, whatever the term is, but closing this, trying to come up with things that have not been said about compassion, because you three have been just glorious. I just probably bring it down to the fact that compassion for myself means to be indeed in some sort of glorious understanding of the oneness of everyone, so that when our beloved John Lennon said, I am you and you are me and you are he and we are all together, that was ultimately, yes, we are one, and therefore, what does the Bible say? Do unto others, etc. So if we can basically embody this, then we're going to just be nice to each other. And if we're going to be nice to each other, by gosh and by golly, what an extraordinary new world this would be. Got lots more to say, but since we have such illustrious panel people, I'm simply going to do the next question. And Chloe, this one I'm going to start with you this time. And I'm going to ask you to blend both these. First of all, what does sound mean to you? And then second, how can we use sound and compassion to manifest oneness? No small question.
Well, I have to say this, in responding to your question, which is such a great question, I began to learn about oneness, the oneness of sound, from the experience of being in India in late 1980s and 90s, when I was blessed to encounter some non-dual teachers there, primarily Ananda Mayima, the great seer and Sibyl and woman saint, one of the greatest women saints of India at that time. And she had actually passed, but she started showing up in my dreams. And, she would just come out with these very strong lines like oneself is all there is. And so then I would spend the next 10, 15, 20 years contemplating oneself is all there is. And it was really my love affair with sound. Sound as the ground of consciousness that really started to flourish from this ever-deepening inquiry into the nature of oneness. Seeing as we live in such a dualistic world, right, to actually experience oneness, even for a moment, is a great gift, isn't it? To experience it for an eternity is something that we all are. It's our sacred birthright, I think, to understand that, to really experience what that is. So for me, sound is the ground of consciousness. It is just simply the sounding of one note. So when I came back from India, I literally couldn't think of anything to do but just to sound one note, which happened to be the Mandukya Upanishad note, the note of the Aum, the Ah, U, And sounding that note, I started to realize that music, really all music, arose out of and returned to this one note, this one singular note. And so sound as a vocal reality, as a sound that was something that all human beings have access to, I started realizing, goodness, wow, what would it be like if everybody else started exploring sound in this way instead of having arguments with each other and or feeling lonely or just getting busy being depressed or just the reactivity of the human mind that we've all been brought up in this kind of strange world. And so I just thought to myself, what can I do but simply write a little notice on a piece of paper? And on that notice, I just wrote, would anybody like to find their voice? And I put it up on our local community notice board, and 30 people showed up. And we just started exploring, how do you sound? How does that feel? How does that feeling restore your sense of inner unicity, of oneness within? Because there's something about feeling itself that assists us, once we hear it and sound it, that assists us to return home to the source of all sound. So that's the beginning, anyway.
Beautiful. That's, once again, such a complicated question, and I understand this. And at the same time, what a coherent and, if you like, encoded answer that I trust everyone listening can really pick up. So thank you for that. Now on to the fabulous Lama Tashi. Hello, Lama Tashi. And what does sound mean to you? And how can we use sound and compassion to manifest oneness?
As I said earlier, that compassion is like foundation of every good thing, all the good things, right? Maybe can I talk a little bit on that, and then I'll try to link.
Yeah, bring in sound too, please.
All of us, we survived because of the compassion of our parents and our relatives and all those things. That's why in overall, without compassion, then I think we may have been like, what do you call, endangered species by now. So compassion is the one that kind of saved us. That's one thing. And now when we talk about the sound, in our tradition, we talk about two different kinds of sound. Sounds, there's external sound and internal sound, right? External sound definitely has a strong effect for our body, our mind, and our speech, of course, our life. But the main thing is internal sound. And when we talk about internal sound, of course, in our tradition, we will find the purifying of our internal sound or speech by blessing the mantra that is based on the vowel and consonant, right? Consonant. So like in English, you have like 26 consonant, and out of there, 5 is vowel. Whatever word we make from our vocal cord or our mouth, this has to come from either from the sound of consonant or other sound of vowel, right? So same thing in our tradition. Every morning we get up and then bless all those consonant and then vowels. In Sanskrit, there are like 16 vowels and 34. Total is 50. So when we recite mantra, it says that you must go for 50 always, like minimum. So this is to bless all your sounds, internal sound that is manifesting by touching this either vowel or consonant. So blessed it. So anyway, when we talk internal sound, it also talks about the wind energy within our body. And then wind energy automatically has sound carrying with it. And that wind energy is in one hand like I think I have mentioned in earlier, like almost like electricity for machinery things, like computer, laptop, or whatever. If you do not have electricity or battery, we cannot run it. Same thing that it says that our mind cannot be active without the wind energy. So, and then because of the wind energy and the mind, that makes our body alive. When they stop functioning, then our body, we dies. Our body become dead body. So that's why that's the most very important part, that wind energy supports our consciousness, and with this two makes us a living being. So if that wind energy carries all kind of negative sounds, that will damage our health. And we as a human being, we cannot be positive. So to be positive, as I said earlier, first the compassion like a seed makes us a nice being. So at the beginning, compassion makes positivity, like converts our sound or our body or our mind positive because of compassion. And then later on makes us continue because of the compassion, continue with the positivity because of compassion. And later on, even after we achieve our goal, we continue to be a good being because of compassion. So if we can make the compassion abide in us continuously, that will automatically change all our wind energy into a positive energy. So whatever the sound that carries, that will be a positive, and that is good for our physical health and our mental health and spiritual health, definitely. So sound, and that's why in Tantrayana Buddhism, when we talk about the body, this our physical body is very much secondary, and then more important we talk from the speech or sound and wind energy, because that's more closer to the subtlest level of wind energy that support our life. So it's even more important than our physical body, our speech or the inner sound.
Lama Tashi, I'm going to ask a really quick question, which is, do you think that there are specific sounds or mantras that are more easily encoded with compassion?
Yeah, what we call it Om Ahum, the mantra of blessing. And also called like Bajra mantra. And traditionally we try to meditate, practice with our breathing. When we breathe in Om, and then you hold it for a few seconds, Ah, and then when you breathe out, you say Hum. So kind of trying to, what they call, in that practice, you try to link that Om Ahum mantra with your inhalation and exhalation of breath, and then holding of the breath, and that transform that, entire sound into a compassionate sound, compassionate voice, mantra. So when we say that, of course, one of the root, as I said earlier, the foundation of Mahayana is compassion. So these teachings usually are given only to those who are the practitioner of compassion. That's one of the biggest commitment. If you really want to be a practitioner of this mantra and those things, then you have to be a practitioner of compassion. Compassion towards all beings and forgiving all this. And that's possible only if you are able to forgive all other beings. If you cannot forgive an individual, there stops your practice of compassion. It doesn't go further than that. It stops there. So you shouldn't have like grudges or resentment towards one individual. So if you have, for you to have that, you must be able to forgive every being. So when I talk, most time I say that, start your practice from the forgiveness. Before you go to bed, you forgive every being. If you can make this commitment, you can listen to my talk, my teachings. That's what I tell people many times, and then only the possible that you can have a compassion towards all beings. If you can forgive that being, then that can go beyond level. And then, of course, whatever the word you say, whatever the word manifest from your sound manifest from yourself, and then finally you kind of like expand it to the inner sound touches the outer sound and makes the entire sound as compassionate sound for the betterment of all beings.
Beautiful, Lama Tashi. Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. I love it. Andi Goldman, you got anything to say after that one?
Well, well, Jonathan, thank you, Lama Tashi and Chloe, too, for both of your beautiful exposés on sound. And when I think of sound, yes, indeed, this was a very complex question. What is sound to you? What is sound to me? And what I know is that everything is sound. Everything is frequency, and whether we can hear it or not, it is putting out a vibration. It's putting out a frequency. And so when we're talking about birthing a new world, when we're talking about compassion and having that be a foundation, when we think about everything being a frequency, well, being in a compassionate place is being in sound, in a frequency. And what I know is that our intention is such an important part of working with sound. And whatever our intention is when we are consciously creating sound, if we are chanting a mantra or toning or humming or oming, whatever our intention is, it is going to ride on the wave of that sound. And so when we're birthing a new world, hey, let's just hold the frequency of compassion in our hearts and sound forth with that frequency.
Wow, beautiful, Andi.
And
Yes.
one last thing I want to say too is that what I also know, and what of course research has shown, is that when we are sounding, when we are even so much as humming, there are so many physiological benefits that are happening. And several of those are different hormones that are emitted. And the one that I want to talk about now is oxytocin, because that is the trust hormone. And so when we are sounding forth, holding the intention of compassion, and actually using our voice, oxytocin is emitted, and there is a trust element that is put out. And when we are in that trusting place, we feel that love and that understanding and that kindness that comprises compassion.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Now, what do I say after everyone has been so extraordinarily enlightening about this? I'd maybe just like to suggest that for myself, indeed, everything is sound, everything is vibration. And how can we encode that vibration with compassion? And I think, once again, it's trying to understand that we are all connected. And if we can somehow be in a place of gratitude whenever we either listen or make sound, then we will be projecting that gratitude and that ultimately kindness and compassion to other beings as well as ourselves. And on a level, we have a very dear friend who is now playing in the angelic realms named Sarah Benson, who said the true sound of healing is love. So if we can somehow encode love on any sound that we make, then we are making a compassionate and a healing sound. And finally, I'd just like to say that with regard to sound, it's not only a mantra or a tone or whatnot, but even in our conversational voice. Just when we're speaking to people, if we can somehow encode that with compassion, with gratitude, with kindness, we will be able to basically birth a new world of oneness with all. And what a blessing that is. Okay, now, next question. Do you have a daily practice that you can recommend to help manifest compassion through sound? And this is going out and, Chloe.
Well, one practice is laughter. Joy, joy, just accessing joy in your system. And so to actually enjoy laughing is a great practice, really great practice. It's very difficult to argue with anyone who is laughing. And goodness, so many other practices. The breath itself, I mean, Lama Tashi, you have spoken about this so eloquently and beautifully. The whole way of the breath and how we become more conscious of how we breathe in, how we hold the breath, and how we let it go out. It's just like, really learning to enjoy that and to become conscious of that. What I'm aware of is that so many people on our planet still are in search of their authentic voice, and so to actually to access the authentic voice, your actual birthright, the voice that is uniquely yours, that is as unique as your DNA and your fingerprint, is the simplest thing that ever happened. If only we could just encourage ourselves to take a big breath in and then just allow some nonverbal sound to come out, and then to allow silence to follow it, and then in the silence to simply ask oneself, who was that? And or what quality of silence does my voice leave behind? And what I've noticed with people who are just coming into a more conscious relationship with their own voices, absolutely all and everyone really focuses on the silence, because they realize, so often when we are taught about the voice in school, in Western schools, it's been much more about performance and entertainment and sustaining a kind of sense of separateness. You've got to impress others with this voice, rather than we are simply here to express our truth, to give voice to truth, which means to give voice to this moment, to sound this moment, and to be present to the one who gave us this sound in the first place, right? And so just to simply, and then just to listen to the silence that follows the sound. So no thought. Where does that sound come from? Who was that? Or what quality of silence does my voice leave behind? And what I've noticed with people for whom this is totally new to even consider that, is that it's a fast way into the self-observing mind, because you don't even have time to judge yourself or judge anybody else for not allowing you to do that, before. So that is a very, very simple practice, which I just love to share with people. And it just deepens our connection with the source of sound itself. with our connection with silence.
Beautiful, Chloe. Thank you so much. Thank you for that tone. That was just lovely. And as I'm going to just suggest right now, we have on our panel, even though they're really not opening up, some of the great sound healing vocalists on our planet. And we're going to next hear from Lama Tashi. I don't expect you, Lama Tashi, to be going into a deep voice chant necessarily. People can find your extraordinary sounds, for example, on Tibetan master chants. Chloe, you've got brilliant recordings, etc. But just hearing from your essence is so cool. So Lama Tashi, tell us about your daily practice. And, if you want to make a tone, you can, but don't blow out the microphones because I know the power of your voice.
That's a very good question. And I like what Chloe said. Thank you very much, like laughter. And a similar thing that what His Holiness always says, like out of good wish, compassion, it says that, smiley, carry your smiley face. That's what His Holiness says. And then when you start speaking, say something good. We can understand that very easily. When we have some difficulties, if someone asks you, how are you doing? Just that one sound, the sentence, makes a big difference. So that's what I think His Holiness meant, is that out of compassion, out of good wish, if we carry our smiley face, when you look at someone, smiling, smile, not like kind of scary face, and then followed by a nice question, can I help you, something like that. And this is one in practical life. And then otherwise, remembering the Lord of Compassion, Avalokiteshvara, reciting his mantra. If we can go like Om Mane Padme Hum, even if you don't do it on the face of someone, but inside yourself, you kind of reciting it, and then through your visualization, you send the energy of compassion, blessings of compassion to other beings. That would be definitely very helpful. And main thing is intention. When you do it, strong, positive intention, that definitely make the changes. There are many practices in the meditation as well. Sometimes there are stages that we do not have control over our meditation at the next step when it comes to very subtle level. But you you started with the intention. It says that will affect, the changes will come later on. Even if you are going to a very subtle level of meditation that you cannot change, you cannot turn around, but your intention will turn it around and bring the effect. So, as one is like Om Mane Padme Hum, that's the one of the most recited mantra in entire Tibetan community, Buddhist community, Tibetan Buddhist community. And then, of course, the meaning of the mantra itself is a very profound. And then, whenever you recite the mantra, one thing you have to have in your mind is compassion. And if you recite it out of compassion, then definitely it's a positive. That will definitely bring positive result to yourself and to others.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Yeah. Lama Tashi. Om Mane Padme Hum, Om Mane Padme Hum. However it's done, what a beautiful, and I know that all of us work with that as a mantra, and it's something I know we recommend to everyone. Now, my beloved Andi, how about telling us about a daily practice that you might have working with compassion through sound?
Well, one of my daily practices is something very, very simple and very effective. And that is simply through conscious humming. Every morning when I wake up, first of all, I have a gratitude practice, and I think of everything that I am grateful for in that moment upon waking up. And then I will hum. And when I am humming, and I'm consciously humming, and I'm breathing first before I hum, so I'm priming my body really for the day. And of course, you can hum at any point during the day, not just when you get up in the morning. That's just a time that I choose to do it. But I love the practice of humming because it is something that literally everyone can do. And it is a very non-judgmental way of working with sound and working with your own voice. And when I was saying earlier about the physiological benefits, when we are humming, we just begin to feel better. Whatever is happening in our lives, if there's stress going on within ourselves, around us, if we just start to hum, that stress level begins to lessen. We begin to feel better. And when we are feeling better, that's when we send out those blessings of compassion to every sentient being, that we want them to be free from suffering. And so my practice, and I know that Jonathan is smiling here because he has a similar practice, because humming has been very present in our lives in the last several years. So.
And really, just what everyone has said, I'm going to keep this brief so that we can have some sort of conclusion or whatnot. But I'd like to suggest that, there are a lot of different mantras that I use, a lot of different sacred sounds. I know that we all do. And at the same time, one of the reasons we like to use the hum is simply that people are non-judgmental about it, so they won't necessarily judge themselves. If they just take a nice deep breath and sound forth with a hum, they'll feel some really extraordinary beneficial results, and they won't judge themselves. And a very cool thing I wanted to share is if you're in partnership with somebody and you, if you like, are less than in a resonant, compassionate frequency, one great way of getting in there and in training with each other and just getting that state of coherence, simply making a sound together. And we find that an om or a hum or a whatever, and just making the sound together. Shall we just make a hum together?
Yes, honey. Oh, I feel so much better.
That did feel so cool. Gotta say, that was great. All right, listen, this is wonderful. We all have such great love for each other, and I just want to thank everybody. But first, I want to ask that each of you tell us how to contact you, and also if you have any last words. We've got about a minute each, so how do we contact you, and any last words or thoughts that we have with you? Lama Tashi, this time, let's go to you.
I'm in social media, actually. Facebook and email, also a website.
What is your website?
Anyway, pardon?
What is your website?
Lamatashi.com.
Lamatashi.com. Great.
Yeah. And lamatashi68@gmail.com, that's my email. Also, I put Lama Tashi on Facebook. So, and I have created a group on Facebook called Himalayan Secrets of Serene Happiness. It's very the same as like Tibetan Secrets of Happiness. But right now, I am kind of trying to see what is in the West, what the Western philosophers and Western right authors have written on this inner happiness and those. And later on, I wanted to bring the Tibetan, Himalayan, or Central Asian, whatever, together, maybe after a few years or so on. But as of now, I'm more focusing more on that, what are the similarities that's in the Western community, Western society. That's what I'm focusing these days. Although it says the title is about the Himalayan secrets of happiness, but I'm focusing more than that. Lots of the authors from West and then scholars, philosophers, especially from like Greece, and Rome, ancient Rome, and all those. I like those very much because lots of similarities there. Anyway, that's one thing. And this topic, compassion, this is one of the most important. As I said, this is the foundation of Mahayana Buddhist. And as I said, like I mentioned earlier, first, compassion is the one that, stop us from harming other. If you have a compassion towards that being, then you don't want to harm that person. That makes us abstain, stop us from, harming other. That's one first step we are taking away from the negative being. And then continue to be a positive being out of compassion. So,
thank you. Beautiful, Lama Tashi.
That's most important.
Thank you. And Chloe Godchild, how do we contact you in last couple of words?
Well, what an absolute joy to be in this conversation with you guys. Just fabulous. Thank you so much for inviting me. I have a podcast series called Voce Dialogues, and the Voce stands for Voices of Compassionate Evolution. And so it involves conversations with extraordinary people like Andi and Jonathan and Charles Eisenstein and Jean Houston and all kinds of, I've just been lucky enough to share a conversation on compassion with Neil Douglas Klotz, and all kinds of Mark Nepo and all kinds of wonderful people. It'd be lovely to do one with you, Lama Tashi, when you're free. If you ever felt like that, it'd be absolutely gorgeous to do that with you. So yes, my website is chloegodchild.com. And the other website is called thenakedvoice.com. And a little poem.
No. Sure.
Yes.
The flute of interior time is played whether we hear it or not. What we mean by love is its sound coming in. When love hits the farthest edge of excess, it reaches a wisdom, and oh, the beauty of that fragrance, of that knowledge. It penetrates our thick bodies. It goes through walls. It has a note as if 1,000,000 suns were arranged inside it. This sound has truth in it. Where else have you heard a sound like that?
Beautiful, Chloe. And our dear friend Sarah Benson, who we mentioned before, her album is Flutes of Interior Time. So, how cool is that?
I know. I just touched my heart, Chloe, when I heard that.
So we have to wrap up now. So Andi, can you give us a wrap up she will represent both of us.
Well, our website is healingsounds.com. And I just want to say absolutely what this panel has been such a joy and an honor to participate in, and there's so much love and so much light. And as a parting word, I just want to put it all out to the Global Oneness Summit as we birth this new world. May it be filled with our love, our light, and our sound.
We heal the planet, we heal ourselves. We heal ourselves and we heal the planet. We have a choice and we can make a difference. Blessings, thank you, and bye-bye now.
Mm.